I've spent the last few days designing and building a little toy theatre, and I hope at some point I will get to show you the theatre in action because I'm hoping, if all goes well, to go through all of Shakespeare's sonnets and to sort of stage them for you, along with an analysis of the poetic virtues of the sonnet and an analysis of what Shakespeare is actually doing. So this may be a tool for people who are studying Shakespeare, who are studying the sonnet form, who are studying for A level or GCSE, or indeed at university. So I hope this will be a resource that will eventually be found on this channel. And I will go on from there and have a look also at another aficionado of theatre and look at some Charles Dickens in the same sort of way, analysing and also reciting what's going on, but using the toy theatre as an analogy. The toy theatre is a wonderful device, and you may have seen it, for example, in the Ingmar Bergman film Fanny and Alexander, and there's a scene near the beginning where Alexander is playing with his toy theatre and he looks through the back of it. So you see the proscenium arch, you see the toy theatre itself, and Alexander with his little cardboard puppets moving them in and out of the scene. And to play a proper toy theatre properly requires a huge amount of skill. I remember when I was a child, I used to make little toy theatres out of cardboard boxes. But the toy theatre itself, nobody knows when the first toy theatre was designed, whether for children, for children with great ambitions to own a theatre like Andrew Lloyd Webber, or for children sort of playing around in the nursery. But I think the toy theatre lies behind a lot of the invention of Swift's Gulliver. The Lilliput story is really a story about a toy theatre. Or indeed, Alice in Wonderland, Alice squeezing into the doll's house, Alice squeezing into the theatrical world of the Queen of Hearts. And what we do know is that the printed toy theatre, the toy theatre of the high Victorian period, was a way for children and adults to re-experience the joy that they had of going to the real theatre and to recapture the thrill of that first pantomime or that first Shakespeare or whatever today of recapturing the musical. For example, did you know there's a toy theatre version of Frozen that's now being marketed? And in some of the programmes for some of the great shows in the 19th century, there were little toy theatres that you could cut out, paste on cardboard, and erect in your own sitting room. But it was William Webb and Ben Pollock who made the toy theatre deeply fashionable. A cardboard edifice sort of hung onto a little wooden frame. And Ben Pollock was the last to die. They had their own little shop, which still exists, by the way. Ben Pollock died in 1936, and then the shop was continued by his two daughters all the way through the Second World War. It was bombed at one point, and as I say, you can still find it in Bloomsbury. And George Speight doing his one-man toy theatre shows, and it's an extraordinary art form, and one that I hope, as I say, that I will share with you. I did some sort of Edward Lear recitations, which you can find on this channel somewhere, using the toy theatre gimmick. And I'm hoping, as I say, to revive that and to look at Shakespeare in a more cohesive way. And particularly, I've been teaching students, very young students, about basic prosody. That is, what is the rhythm of the poem? When children are looking at poetry for the first time, they're often directed by their teachers to work out, what does it mean? Can you put this in modern English? And I think that's such a pointless thing, because if you wanted to translate it into modern English, that's what you would have written. The reason the poem is in this strange format is because it's got a rhythm, and children are very good with rhythm. That's why they learn limericks, and that's why they like rap. And I think one should seize on the joys of rhythm. So I think one should be teaching children at an early age how to analyse the rhythms of poetry. What is iambic? What is a trochee? What is a spondee? A dactyl? An amphibrach? And so on. And once children, particularly children who've got any sort of musical background, can pick up that rhythm, they get very excited, identifying, oh, I think this is a trochee. This breaks the iambic pentameter format. Why? Why is the rhythm broken at that point? And generally, the rhythm is broken because the author, let's say Shakespeare, wants to draw your attention to one particular word, one particular idea. And there it is. And Shakespeare can draw your attention to other things by using rhymes at the end of the lines as well. And it's by playing around with these techniques, with the formal constraints of poetry, that a really clever poet can sell this new idea. And the rhythm and the rhyme is the thing that makes it memorable. And in one sense, that's probably why Shakespeare wrote his plays in iambic pentameters, because they were therefore in a formal rhythm that is more memorable. And if you've got to learn a bit of Shakespeare fast, you learn it because you can anticipate the rhythm, and where the rhythm goes wrong, there's a reason. There's a reason. One of the best examples of the rhythm going wrong, instantly, I would recommend, is Leontes' madness in the Winter's Tale, when Shakespeare was really on the top of his game. But we'll get to all that later, and I would encourage you to follow the Shakespeare bits when I finally get them up and working, and some sort of sub channel, or whatever it's called. Playlist is, I think, what I've got to be talking about. My playlist, my Shakespeare playlist. Well, it's not up there yet, but it will be in the next few weeks, I hope, with toy theatres.